back, everybody. Welcome back to Words with Wayman. I am your host, as always, Matt Wayman, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We got a fantastic episode today, guys. As always, check us out online on Twitter at TFI, or no, at Words with Wayman. That's my other podcast. Check that one out, too, at TFIW Podcast. Heck yeah. Words with Wayman on Facebook as well, everybody. This is going to be a hot part one. I've been trying to get this guy out here for a long time. Everybody, please give it up. Painter, portrait master, artist, dad, comedy scene supporter. I'm going to go with that, Mr. Jeff Simpson, everybody.
Hello, Matt.
Thank you for coming out, man. Appreciate you.
Oh, thanks for asking.
Yeah, we talked about it for a little while. The first time I had ever met you, we met down at Voodoo Comedy Playhouse, I believe it was.
Yeah, that's correct. I think we got sitting outside and just talking about art.
Yeah, which was, I remember having a really good talk, and then I had started this up a little bit later, so I thought you'd be a perfect guest for this creatively driven podcast.
Sounds good to me.
So basically what I always do whenever we start, I just like where did you grow up? Just started from the beginning, you know.
Well, I was an Air Force kid, so I was born in Canada, but I didn't really spend much time there.
Yeah.
Then I spent like my toddler years in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan in
Cool.
a place called Kinchelo.
Okay.
It used to be, it was an Air Force base, then it got closed, and now it's a prison.
Oh.
Yeah, interesting.
That is interesting. So you were there at the right time, I guess, then.
I suppose.
Got it a little bit early. I find like a decent amount of creatives that I talk to come from like military backgrounds. I don't know if that's just a thing, or like traveling around a little bit.
Maybe, yeah.
Seeing some stuff as a young kid.
Yeah, most of the years in Omaha, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, Papillion, Nebraska, to be exact. Very
Nice.
suburban.
Yeah, I'm a Midwestern boy out of Missouri. You know, I feel like it's So is it a good upbringing? What were you into? Like in elementary school and stuff? Were you creative when you were that young?
Yeah, actually, I was selling pictures of Garfield that I was
nice.
drawing for like kids' milk money.
So you got the bug early.
Yeah, and I used to have this really like ambitious like financial drive at a very young age.
That's
I guess
wild.
Because of weird allowance issues.
Yeah.
Or something.
You wanted to be able to buy things, so you're like, I'm going to go out and do it.
Right, I suppose so.
That's pretty. I definitely did not have that drive as young. But you see, like a lot of entrepreneurs and stuff like that definitely have that when they were very, very young.
Yeah, so I'm trying to put that into the portrait business now. Bring back that drive that I used to have.
Yeah. So you had it when you were young, and then it just as you grew older, it was just kind of.
Yeah, it just kind of faded, probably driven out of me by parents and stuff like that.
Yeah. Which you'd think would be the complete opposite because it's
Right.
like making money, so you'd feel like they would push that or at least encourage that.
Yeah, but I think they didn't want to encourage making money as an artist.
Yeah. Maybe that's crazy.
Yeah, they kept on convincing me to switch my major in college to eventually, after 3 switches, it really had nothing to do with art anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It went from art to art education to special education, and I think you really have to have, that drive in that specific, area of interest, special education, to really succeed and want to do it. And
of course.
So my third year, I dropped out for a time and ended up...
because they were pushing you in that direction, you think?
Right.
Did they try to do that in high school, too? Did they try to...
Not as much. I was very, wanting to be like a doctor or something like that initially,
In high school?
Yeah, and then by the time I got out, I was like, no, I want to pursue the art again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which would be like a collection of both of the things that your parents wanted to, like that drive to make money, but also to try to probably make them happy, which was maybe what the medical stuff was.
Yeah, probably. And also part of that, is probably that feeling of like, I was always involved in like the gifted type programs and stuff like that in school.
Honor stuff.
So I always kind of had this probably sense from that I could do a more high level, professional job of some kind.
Some sort of highly skilled.
Yeah. And yeah, then I just, after a time in, investigating doing art more and more through high school, I slowly switched back to my original, wanting to do art.
Yeah, that's funny that it's always pervasive and is one of those things that it makes itself appear like, you say in some senses it's not like a want, it's like a need in some sense. So like just comes back at some point. And
Right, because feel like I've essentially on some level been doing it my whole life.
Mhm.
So
Where'd you go to college?
Started out at University of Nebraska Lincoln. I'm not going to say go Huskers because I'm not into them.
No.
But some people might expect that. when I
Yeah,
say
no
that.
thanks. We don't have to.
Yeah, and then I finished up at University of Nebraska at Omaha. Some people called it University of No Learning because he's UNL, and then University of No Opportunity because he's
That's
UNO.
Nice. It was both of those places.
Right.
But that I'm sure that must have felt good to at least not be under your parent. I mean, like still maybe that know that they were pushing you in a direction, but was it nice to be outside of the house?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because then from there, my girlfriend, then eventually wife, convinced me to go back to school, and I finished up with the art degree.
Yeah.
Then went on and got my master's degree in Chicago at the American Academy of Art there.
Oh, that must have been a blast.
Yeah, that was a good time living there. We were there for about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Cool city, and I'm sure a good place just to like, as an artist or creative person, just to be able to like, meet different people and see stuff.
It's kind of hard to break into because being a big city like that, some of it's kind of elitist, I've noticed.
Yeah.
But, there were smaller shows that I could get into.
Oh, nice. So you were like doing shows, and what was your medium mainly at this time?
I was trying to be really driving myself to be like a fine artist at that point and, really investigate the gallery scene. Yeah, just like anything,
Super hard to get into.
Yeah, super hard to get into. Knowing the right person, right time, stuff like that.
Yeah, just like really, I always watch I just watched that movie, like the Jackson Pollock one the other day, and that was just kind of a wild one about how he broke into. It just always seems like it's not just like a sham in some senses, but it's just like one of these things where it's just a bottleneck. They control so much of it. It's like, how do you even?
Right. I mean, it's very, it's not, I don't think it's quite like that here, but also the interest I don't think is here because I did try to continue my fine art interest in selling, and I was able to get, one level of kind of prices in Chicago, and then moving here, I really had to feel like dropping my prices to be able to sell things.
Yeah, and just the amount of people that are probably seeing it at the same time, and the income of those people.
Yeah, and also the genre that is more pervasive out here, which is more the majestic scene that you want to have over here, like Hearth or something. Yeah.
Was that demoralizing as a painter? Or it
was kind of depressing when I kind of realized it, because I felt like I did some nice pieces after I moved here.
Yeah.
That were kind of like this amalgamation of animals and people. In the sense where when you see them, in comic books and, cartoons and stuff like that, it's always like trying to pop an animal's head onto human shoulders,
Yeah.
And I thought, I want to make it look like that there's a human anatomy somewhere underneath there.
Cool.
And then have the carapace, so to speak, on top be whatever the animal was. And I did like a snake.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Rhino.
Doing something different that you haven't seen before but also have wanted to see.
Right, yeah. And there was people love to look at them when they walk by, but the price range I was trying to put them at based upon the amount of time and I put into them, just wasn't. Yeah, people just weren't there for it.
Yeah, and I mean, you couldn't make money off at that point because you have to charge those prices because you put all that time into it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, even like, First Fridays and stuff like that are different here. You're just not as big as they were. Even, I mean, we were just down in New Orleans for a couple of years, and it was huge down there, You got thousands of people going out. 2 giant streets of just all art galleries all the time. So it's just, I guess, the market, here just isn't there, unfortunately, but... there's always definitely different mediums that you go into. So, but are you 100%? Are you full time at this? I mean, it's more of like supplementary, and you do some other stuff too, right?
Yeah, I do some freelance stuff here and there because there was a time when I was trying to break into the comic book industry as an artist.
Heck yeah.
And I was actually producing an independent comic book with a writer. It was called Keeper.
Awesome.
It was about a serial killer soccer player.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, my writer was all about these kind of odd mashups, and people were always comparing it to like Dexter because he was doing it on the side where he wasn't getting being caught, but it was like this weird attention thing he needed, you know.
Yeah. Sociopathic or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome.
So I did the art on that for, I'd say 3.5 issues, and did a subsequent cover after I left it, because I just time constraints in independent comics. You're not making any money.
Oh yeah.
Until you actually get signed by a bigger,
of course,
publisher.
Had you done comic books before that, or was that just something that you wanted to get into?
No, I just always had an interest in comic books. And then I realized after a time, like, I feel like I draw pretty well. Let's give this a try. But, it's a different ball game.
I'm sure it's tough. Yeah, the learning curve a little bit.
Because, when you're training as a fine artist, you're looking at just like one scene to tell a story. This is like making like talking heads going back and forth through various panels look interesting, even though it's just a room where two guys are sitting across from a table talking about something.
Which is crazy. It kind of like, even though you went to school for art, when you have a fine art emphasis, it's almost just like going to school for business management and then somebody being like, hey, do you paint? Right? Is it kind of, because it's a different world, right?
Right, totally.
But it's still out of like one similar aspect, and it's the same. They can tell you how to do things and stuff like that, but it's a completely different vein trying to be a fine art painter, I'm sure.
Totally. And I tried to bring kind of my fine art values to it, and I did get a callback, so to speak, at one of the conventions to talk to Marvel, which was nice. But then sometimes I'm bad with time management, and also having a kid at home. It seemed like more probably the time management thing.
Yeah, of course. No, I'm the same way.
Ran out of the time to actually really capitalize on that by getting them more samples of my work after the convention. And also another problem was at the convention, I found out the day that they wanted to talk to me. They wanted to talk to me at noon. My flight out of Chicago was at 2 o'clock.
Oh.
There was no way that was going to happen.
Yeah.
So I had to go talk to them at the booth and say, like, can I talk to you guys earlier? And I got put with somebody else as opposed to the guy who noticed my work.
And wanted to talk to you.
Right. So it was like, almost like this guy is like, I don't know what the guy noticed, but I'll give you a critique.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so, things could have gone much differently, and I probably should have, I made so many mistakes.
It's one of those things, it's like, all regrets. My whole thing is like, as long as you're always moving forward, the regrets don't even, because I feel like everybody has like 5 or 6 of those in there, and hopefully, you get those, and then one of them will eventually stick. But yeah, there's always those looking back, like what ifs,
Right, totally.
They could have been like, move out to wherever right away or something, and then it wouldn't have, you wouldn't have, could have ended up terrible.
Yeah, I don't think that usually involves it these days, but you never know, because, who knows, they may still kind of have an intern level entry stuff going on.
Yeah, where you're not making any money anyway.
Yeah, but they want you kind of supervised on something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Instead of just sending work in and them guiding you in a direction anyway.
Yeah.
And who knows if you're just a machine at that point and that's just work, and not, as opposed to something where you can manage yourself and have it be fun.
When I was trying to actually keep up with the independent comic book, now, mind you, I was doing the pencils, inks, and colors of it all manually, none on the computer.
Yeah. Which is a lot of it's done on the computer these days, right?
Yeah, so, and it can be done a lot quicker on the computer, but I was at a certain time and age where when I should have got into
style.
that, it seemed like I was already too far beyond it when it was already kind of
like Adobe
something.
and all that stuff.
Yeah. So I should go back and learn, but
might as well. I mean, if you ever want to. And my whole thing's I like the old school way a lot of the time too. Yeah, it may take a little bit longer, but I think you definitely get a quality and a feel that you can't get with anything else, and that's one of the things that I think is pretty cool. But that's just nuts that I've always really, really liked comic books too, and my dad gave me a bunch when I was a little kid. And I always liked the worst ones, but I always thought it was just a fun thing, even when they're bad, of just being able to tell a story like that through pictures and just like little characters.
Right, and I've always kind of joked with my other friends who like comic books that I will put up with a mediocre story with great art, while they will not. They will actually go sometimes as far as like great art, and bad story, they won't keep.
Yeah, they
getting
want
it.
the story.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but you know, at the same time, I come from more the art background.
That's
and
true.
sometimes I just like, okay, I'm looking at like a gallery of great
and
stuff.
I think for a lot of people, like the earliest points of their life, that's like a lot of the first art that they even see, and they don't, you might not even realiase it.
Right, mine was Norman Rockwell because it was a
Oh,
coffee
cool.
table book in my parents'
Nice.
house.
That's pretty awesome.
So that's yeah. If you ever see like my master's project, it was surreal, but all the poses kind of reminiscent, kind of a Norman Rockwell-esque style. So,
Wild. The first influence and probably the more pervasive ones through.
Yeah.
The cool one, the Rockwell man.
Yep.
Well, awesome. That do you want to give everybody? We're just wrapping it up on the part one. Everybody, do you want to give like your online stuff so people can find you?
Oh, sure. I am at jeffsimpsonportraits.com. I take commissions for portraits. I want to start doing something where I add people's faces into like a scene in a movie where they're like a character or something like that as part of the portrait. So if you're interested in something like that, also email me. I'm at jfsimpy@hotmail.com.
Check them out, everybody.
Right, thanks.
Yeah, you got Jeff Simpson Portraits, I think, on Facebook too.
Yep.
Portraits. So check that out, everybody. Follow us at Words with Wayman on Twitter. Everybody, that's going to do it for part one. I want to thank you so much for coming out. We'll see you guys very shortly for part two.